Steven, do you think more men watch Sydney Sweeney on SNL or more women watch Sam Hartman throwing the combine yesterday?
The latter, Sam Hartman.
You think so, huh?
Yeah.
It was the first time I've noticed that guy without playing in a Notre Dame game. I haven't watched many Notre Dame games. Good God. That's like the
Majestic.
perfect man.
Yeah. He's everything you'd expect from like the biblical times. You know, he
Yes.
looks a little bit like
Very
Jesus.
Jesus-like. Yeah.
He looks a little bit like Jesus. He has a look of a Disney prince character, or
he looks a little bit like Jesus.
Nice. I think I've mentioned this part before, but he looks like he'd be the not the main character, but he looks like he'd be like the main character's friend who turns on him in the movie in the middle of it, and you had no idea. You didn't see it coming. That's what he looks like.
He's the good-looking bad guy.
Yep.
No,
at first he's a friend. Everyone loves him. Then he turns on the main character, on the protagonist, and everyone's like,
yeah. No, you were onto this a long time ago, and it was the first time yesterday I was like, good God. Just watching the combine, like, this guy's a heartthrob.
Yeah. I'm right there. I'm early on the heartthrobs in sports. I'm right on it.
Oh yeah, I mean Jimmy Garoppolo with the failed PEDs. He's yesterday's news. Looking old and gray and needs performance enhancers to get it up. Come on.
Yeah. Prescription.
Yeah, exactly. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa, we're coming to you on a Sunday right after the Warriors played against the Celtics in quotations.
Yeah.
That was rough. God, what was it? It was a 23-1 run to end the first quarter for the Celtics.
Yep.
And I don't even know what the final score was, but at halftime they were leading by 44 points.
140 to 88.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We thought this was going to be a big-time matchup, but the Celtics are that good. And the Nuggets are that good. We saw a week ago the Warriors lose to the Nuggets. The Warriors are playing better basketball. They had impressive wins against the Knicks and in Toronto, especially given their flight mishap or whatever happened there. I love Steve, by the way. Like, I know they were kind of, dragging ass in the first quarter against the Raptors, and I'm sure it had a lot to do with the travel situation. And then Steve just called a timeout and just got in the middle of the team just being like, what the fuck are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
And they pulled that win out. They're playing better. They're definitely, I think, a play-in team or a playoff team. But the reality is the Warriors are just not as good as the best teams of basketball. They lost to the Nuggets, and they got shit stomped by the Celtics today. We'll see what happens Wednesday at home against the Bucks. Warriors are good, but they're not that good anymore.
They're good, and they're not. They are a play. That's the bottom line. Is they are at least a playing team, because there's no team that's seeded 11th through 15th that's actually going to catch up to any of those guys. The top four pretty well solidified, but it's a pretty tight race. Like, the problem with the Warriors season to me is not just these games where they just get trounced by a team that's just deeper, younger, more energetic, and actually has a lot to prove. It's even with the Nuggets against the Warriors, they're still trying to take that place in the West where they're like this dynasty that's pending right now. Whereas, and the Celtics are just trying to get back from that finals loss. And I don't think there's any team that the Celtics hate more than the Golden State Warriors right now, or at least want to beat more than the Golden State Warriors. I'm not going to look. Yeah, I don't think there's any other team that the Celtics would rather beat than the Warriors from here on out right now.
All right. I mean, I said the Heat has given them fits in the past.
Well, but the Warriors, they play them so rarely that I think whenever they have their opportunity, they really wake up. Like, there's Heat games where they're like, okay, we have 4 regular season series games against this team. We got 4 chances to beat them. Whereas the Warriors, it's only like twice. Yeah. So I really think they wake up, and they did this morning. They were just more athletic. Took Jonathan Kuminga out of the game basically, and he's been like the catalyst for this run. Steph Curry, I just think he's tired. The bottom line, I really do think he's tired, and they need a little bit of a break. But I'm also of the opinion that this part of the season, this game of the season, it's not like it's a turning point. It's not like I think any less of the Warriors or any more of the Celtics. what you saw was a team that's kind of been battered and bruised from a road trip, obviously not very well rested, and a team that's also older than the Celtics are. Whereas the Celtics, they are absolutely rolling right now. What is it? 12 straight games that they've won at this point.
Mm.
So I think that you just saw the Warriors run into them at a bad time. It's not like it's a turning point. It's not like, oh, this hurts the Warriors' chances of doing anything. No, it's kind of just solidified what we already know. And you mentioned that at the top, which is sure they're probably a middle of the pack in the West, but when you face those top 3 teams in each conference, it's not going to go well.
No, it didn't.
It got even
And
easier with the Bucks coming up too.
no, it's not. But I thought that Bob Myers nailed it. Pretty much said everything that you just said, Stephen. Said this is just one game. Let's not get over our heads here. And of course, Stephen A was like, "No, get Bob Myers off the television. I'm going to tell you like it is."
Yeah.
But Bob was waiting to have his JJ Redick moment where he was like, "I'm not doing the hot take bullshit. I'm not." And he even called Kendrick Perkins a Celtics apologist. And he was like, don't put that title on me." But I can't do a Kendrick Perkins. But no, Bob was just like, I'm not listening to this because there's a lot of factors into why they lost today. Not that big of a deal. We'll see what happens against the Bucks. But yeah, I think we all need to be real about the Warriors right now. And another thing we got to be real about, I think it's okay to ask this, is what's going on with Andrew Wiggins. And we don't need to know. I'm not saying like that. We don't need to know the details. It's personal reasons, though, whatever the deal is, but question marks because this was the thing last year. And he missed 22 games before he came back for the playoffs. So are we doing the same thing again? It seems eerily similar to last year where Andrew Wiggins went away before the All-Star break, and then we lost him for a good deal of time because something was going on, and it was related to his father not being well.
Yeah.
And we don't know if that's the same case right now. So, we'll see what happens. But I think you have to wonder as fans and as his teammates how long he's going to be out with this personal reason, which we don't need to know, as I just said. But what's going on here?
Well, not eerily similar, Derek. It really is the exact same as last year, but we don't know the reason why. But 25 games left on the schedule, takes it off with 25 games left. That's exactly what he missed last year before they got to the playoffs.
Sorry to cut you off. Shams is saying that it's another very serious family situation.
Right. And we hope he does, or the Wiggins family, rather. We wish them all the best during this time. But I also think that this is, as far as what the Warriors are paying him, this is the first year where his contract officially kicks in, and the Warriors truly are paying him out of their pocket, like the money that they felt like he deserved. They took the contract from the Timberwolves when he popped over, and I think he signed like a 4-year deal with them in like 2018, and then it carried over into 2022. So really, this is like the first time that their contract extension with him, his 4-year deal, is kicking in for this season. And they're paying him what? 27 million, 25 million,
something like that. 25.
It's 25 this year, but it's an average of 27 if you take the average out completely without, paying year to year. But you got to wonder, like, how are the Warriors really just going to give him all that time if they're fighting for a spot that's the 6th? Because even though we're okay with them getting the play-in spot, and they have a chance at the playoffs, I think they'd rather get the 6th seed. And playing against teams like the Celtics, which they did today, you need as much depth as you can possibly get. And having Andrew Wiggins on the team helps you more than hurts you at this point in the season. So obviously it starts with Andrew Wiggins getting better, but you got to wonder if the Warriors are going to give him the same amount of time and say, like, okay, we can't miss you for another 25 games. Like last year, they went on a total win streak towards the end of the season to get that 6th seed. I don't know if they could bank on that again.
No, I mean, right now, I think they're the 9th seed in the West after the Lakers lost last night to the Nuggets. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, you have to wonder what's going on and how they're going to adapt. As you said, they had a win streak last year when he was out. They're playing better basketball. They are playing better basketball right now, but it's clear when they go up against the upper echelon teams in the NBA, they get their ass kicked. So we'll see how long Andrew Wiggins is out, and we'll see if the team can rebound from their really bad loss today to the Celtics. But we got a big event today, Stephen. Today is the first annual JYOMMYs or JYOMMYs.
The
JYOMMYs?
Giammis. The
JYOMMYs.
Giammis.
JYOMMYs. Jason
Mhm.
JYOMMYs. Uh, and we've been trying to do this for a long time. It's our award show, thanks to really, kind of, really wanting by the fans here, AJ Cruz and the Ernies and people that are normally in the chat that aren't here today. But this is a big event, so you guys wanted it. It's here. We'll do it towards the end of the show. And one of the categories we're going to do is Jackass of the Year because it's a category that we do every week, Jackass of the Week. And I wanted to get one out of the way real quick. I thought about doing Anthony Rendon while I was gone because did you hear what he said, Steven, that
Oh yeah.
after he got a contract and he's getting paid by the Angels, he's still in the Angels?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he punched an A's fan last year. But he basically said that baseball is not the top priority. There's other things in life, which I understand. But when you're getting paid handsomely, that's kind of a jackass thing to say. So I put him in the category. But there's someone bigger that I want to throw in Jackass of the Week. Draymond Green. So we've all seen it, the post game of the Warriors win against the Knicks. Bonte Hill does the post game interview with Draymond Green, and Draymond says to Bonte, "Oh, I'm surprised you're talking to me with everything that you said about me when I was suspended. I'm really surprised you're talking to me right now." Bonte just goes, "Really, really?" And he asks a quick question about Madison Square Garden, and he gives a quick response saying, "It's great. Love playing in Madison Square Garden." It was even more brief than that. So my whole thing with Draymond is, look, man, I understand that you're a changed man, and you're not going to be the same Draymond that you were before that was smacking Nurkic in the face and stomping on Sabonis and everything. You can't do you can't go on your podcast and talk shit about Anthony Edwards. Oh, he's making a mockery of the All-Star weekend by not taking it seriously. Or Grant Williams, he thinks he's a tough guy. You can't talk shit about other guys and then get upset when an actual media member calls you out on his show. Now, let me get this straight too. Bonte can handle himself. I don't think Bonte was, I mean, he talked about it for 4 hours on a show, so I don't think he was upset that Draymond called him out. I've seen Bonte handle himself against Russell Westbrook, talking shit to him in the locker room. So it's not that big of a deal for Bonte. But for Draymond, it's just a bad look. It's just talking both sides of your mouth. It's just that you're the one that could dish it out and can't take it when it's, when you're being criticized. Like, I just can't stand. I know that the Warriors call themselves the kings of pettiness. Like, I know Steph doesn't respond usually, but he keeps track of what everybody says. Draymond, same thing. Clay, a year ago, when people were talking shit about him. I'm just kind of tired of it. I'm tired of everybody kind of on the Warriors just being like, oh, that's what you have to say about us? Yes. You're going to be criticized sometimes. Charles Barkley's going to do the same shtick. Go ahead, Steven.
I think it's just the idea that they're taking it personally. Like, I'm sorry, but it's his job to go on a radio show and give his opinion on things. And when you're in the middle of a 12-game suspension, and one at the time when Bonte was giving that opinion, at the time we didn't even know how long that suspension would be. Like, we're looking at that thinking, oh, this could last a long time. This could last more than just whatever it was, a month plus. We're talking like 2, 3, maybe even 4 months. Who knows what's going to happen here? And I think it was very fair to criticize Draymond in that moment. Everyone had something to say, but just to go, I just didn't like the platform that he used. It's like, what, you're going to go on at him on a network broadcast post-game show and then use that as your point where you're going to talk to him? Why don't you call into the radio show? If you are so offended, why don't you actually have a conversation? And I think he took that way too personal. And like, Steph is different. Like, I've at the station, I think if I had to guess, the guy who, or at least from my perspective, the guy who had like the best relationship with Steph was Steiny, because Steiny been doing it for so long. And Steiny's also been very critical of Steph a lot of times, not as of late, but early on in his career, kind of questioning whether he's going to be this superstar player. And Steph knew that, but Steph still respected it. Kind of understand that it's personal. It's just not personal. It's just business. And I just think that the way that Draymond handled it, he clearly took that personally, but it's like, how are you taking that personally? He didn't even take like a shot. He wasn't like questioning him as like a human being. He was simply questioning what the potential future without Draymond could look like, or if there is a future without Draymond on this team, because we didn't know what was happening with the suspension. So for him to call him out like that, I didn't like the setting. I didn't like the format of it.
No,
You
I
know?
didn't either. But I mean, it was good. It was good content for Bonte the next day, so it's fine. I
Yeah.
mean,
Uh,
yeah, God knows he had a good time talking about that. But
yeah.
I think that yeah, Draymond's just hypocritical. Like you can't be in the media and talk this shit and then be like, oh, is people talking shit about me? Like, come on, dude. It's if you're gonna do this, you got to be able to take it as well. And everybody had that opinion. It wasn't just Bonte. You had
Yeah.
Charles Barkley. You had bigger, well-known media members that are on national stages talking shit, and he didn't go after them. Like, there
Yeah.
is a criticism that Draymond punches down. He goes after people that he can go after,
Oh
like
yeah.
Jordan Poole, or not to say that he can mess with Bonte, but it's on a local TV network. He's able to do that. Festus Ezeli's not going to call him out because that's his boy. So I don't know. I thought the whole thing was lame.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reaction to it too. I hated all of it. And it turned into like taking sides, and I had to stay off Twitter after
No,
that.
there's. I mean, yeah. I mean, like, I'm probably going to side. I mean, I am going to side with Bonte on this. He's entitled to do that.
Yeah.
But whatever. Keep him moving. Draymond's. Draymond could do whatever he wants to, but it's just a
Yeah.
bad look. I wouldn't be as mad if he didn't do the same stuff on his podcast. If he didn't call out Anthony Edwards or Grant Williams, or on a routine basis call out most of the NBA when he doesn't like something. Like he's got
Right.
issues with Kevin Durant now because he called him out for needing,
Help.
therapy. Exactly. And now Carmelo Anthony's like, "Can I be the mediator and help you guys?" Like, okay, whatever. But like, he just gets mad about too much shit.
Yeah. Agreed. And it doesn't necessarily hurt the team either, but it just goes to show, man, that at this point in their careers, I think we could kind of say this about Clay too. It's like they seem to be in this state that's super I don't want to say fragile, because that's way too that's too strong of a word, but it seems like there's a sense that they feel they need to be respected as four-time champions, and
Yeah.
at the same time it means that they're absolved of all future criticism moving forward, which isn't necessarily true. Like if they're going to play poorly or act out or whatever, then I think they deserve that criticism. I think anyone does, but it also just goes with the job, comes with the territory. Like, be a professional about it. You're making 30 million a year. It's fine. 25 million, excuse me.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad the example that you gave. Steiny and Steph have always had a thing, but
Yeah.
Steph kind of just laughs at it. Like I've seen Steiny with Steph, and you know, it's always cordial. It's always Steph being like, "Oh, so you still counting us out?" Like it's
Yeah.
always just like, "Okay, you got a job to do, and I'm going to prove you wrong." And
Right.
then there is mutual respect for both of those guys right now. So, and that's
Correct.
why I think that Draymond needs to handle that with criticism that he hears, and the same with Klay Thompson. It's not that big of a deal. It is what it is. It was just something that rubbed me the wrong way. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully Draymond doesn't react to every single thing that somebody says. And
Yeah.
I will say this too. Not that I don't think Draymond listens to the morning roast from time to time, but I bet you he didn't even hear what Bonte said, and it just came back to him through a social media clip or whatever someone texted him.
Yeah.
So I love that too. That no one actually takes the time to listen to something.
Well, isn't it always appropriate that these guys seem to lash out at the one piece of critique that they give them, but instead of hearing the praise that they also give them too, it's like one piece of maybe something that might shed them in a negative light, and you're going to point to that. But
Yeah.
instead of focusing, like I'm not hearing them say, Bonte, I heard you say I was a vital piece to this 2022 championship run. Thank you for that. You know what I mean? Like you never hear that. You
No,
never
of
hear
course
that. It's
not.
always just like the critical parts.
No, it's always the negative stuff, and that's how we are as a society.
And I'm not saying that we and I'm not saying, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm not saying
No, go
we
ahead.
like deserve that we it's not like we want players to do that, but if you're not going to give the media members credit for what they've said about you positively in the past, then why bring up the negative stuff too? Is that really all you're going to bring up? I
Oh,
don't think that's fair.
that's what we do as a society. Aggregators take the worst part of an interview and blow it up on social media, and people don't listen to the full thing. That's why, like, when the Antonio Pierce interview came out with Max Crosby, I wanted to hear the whole thing just to get the context of it, and I didn't like it. And that's how I think most people should digest things. It's not just taking the one clip that's going around social media. Listen to the whole goddamn interview. Listen to more than just what Bonte said one time about you being suspended. Everybody had that opinion. Draymond, good
Right.
God. Anyway, that is our Jackass of the week. We will do our Jackass of the year when we do the JYOMMYs, the first annual JYOMMYs. You guys asked for it. We're going to give it to you later on in the show. But we got some news that happened over the weekend. Starting with Combine, Steven. Get excited.
Yep.
Did you watch the quarterback's throw?
No.
Okay. That's all I watched.
Okay, I did see the miles per hour. I did see the miles per hour.
See.
Yeah.
Michael Penix could throw. You know who could really throw? What's his name?
JJ
Milton.
McCarthy. He threw 61 miles an hour.
Accurately.
I don't know if it was accurate. Those guys are just
some of
trying
those
to throw
drills.
as hard as they could.
Some of those drills, like the touch throws.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, like, okay, he could. I mean, the one guy, Milton from Tennessee, he could fucking sling it.
Yeah.
But we all know the story of Jamarcus Russell having the best pro day of all time.
Right.
So really, I mean, believe me, I wanted to watch and see how they looked. Michael Penix was just, it looked like a flick of the wrist. It was that simple of him throwing a deep ball. But there's going to be a lot of other factors that go into his draft position, obviously his history with injuries and whatnot. But it was fun. It was fun to watch the quarterbacks throw for a little bit. The guys that decided to throw, I understand why Drake May and Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams did not throw. It's basically because their draft position is already set in stone. Those guys are going 1, 2, 3 in whatever order. Most likely Caleb going 1. But it was, interesting to watch the quarterbacks throw. I will say I did thoroughly enjoy watching former Longhorn Xavier Worthy break the 40-time record, 4.21. And I'll say that between him and Adion Mitchell is a better all-around receiver. But if Al Davis were still alive, you best believe that he's going after Xavier Worthy for the speed. This guy can, blow the top off over a defense. So I'm not going to act like I was, shut the blinds and was all 100% in on the combine, but that's the stuff I checked out this weekend.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, shut the blinds and watch these guys work out. Mm-hmm.
Is that more sad than saying I didn't watch like all, half of America, lonely men watching Cindy Sweeney on SNL last night?
I'm done with SNL, so I don't know if anyone really.
I am too, so I didn't bother, and I'm not watching just to watch that. Like,
yeah, and it would just as it went as expected. Like they just used her being hot, and they turned it into skits with typecast characters that normally are played by good-looking women. It's how it goes.
Yep.
But with Xavier Worthy, where was he expected to be drafted?
That I don't know, but he was a speed guy. He'll probably be a kick returner the first year or a slot guy. I don't know. I really don't know all the other. I mean, this is a wide receiver heavy draft. Yeah. So I would say maybe 2nd to 5th round.
So because I'm seeing critiques here, the negatives: terribly skinny frame, struggles versus press and often goes down on first contact, too many careless drops in the open field, poor ability to win the ball in the air, cannot fight through contact or reach for the ball effectively. Effort comes and goes, too often jogs through routes when the ball is not obviously going his way. So
is this Mayock's report on him?
Pretty scathing there. No, this is from Bleacher Report.
Okay. Not Matt Miller. He moved on to ESPN, right?
Yeah. It just says the NFL scouting department. Doesn't give any names.
Yeah, I mean, that's all accurate. I could see he did have a very slim frame. I don't know. I mean,
it was cool seeing him break that 40 record, but I looked back on like the historic stuff, and think like Dontari Poe, how
exactly
dominant we thought he'd be, like with the Falcons and the Chiefs, and then
Glenn Dorsey.
John Ross is the number one, but Glenn Dorsey's a good one. But yeah, like these things don't mean anything as far as what they're going to do in the NFL in the future. But I guess it's cool to watch like a feat of athleticism like that.
Absolutely. And I would tell people the combine is basically scout porn. It's just the stuff that stands out, the tangibles that scouts look for.
Yeah.
Like my guy John Middlecoff or, Larry Kruger, the stuff that everybody looks for when they evaluate a player. It's all that stuff. But you don't really know the person. You don't know the heart. You can ask all your dumb questions in media, like, are you, or behind the scenes if you're like general manager. Like I've heard terrible stories of general managers asking people at the combine or draft meetings, you more of a dog or a cat? Like,
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah. Or like when who was the Dolphins GM that asked Des Bryant if his mom was a prostitute? Remember that?
Oh God, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was just you don't know. You think you know, but you don't. And so combine's a weird time. There's plenty of time before the draft starts. I don't think really the combine plays a big role in when guys are drafted, but sometimes it does, like you said with Don Terry Poe. So we shall see, but I don't think anything changed with the quarterbacks. I think Michael Penix has to do a lot more to get himself back in the first round, maybe.
You think there's any chance that those top 3 teams maybe, I don't know, take a chance and don't draft a quarterback in the first round, maybe draft another position of need and then wait for Penix in the second round when they have an early second round pick? Because remember, after the Raiders, that's where
Yeah.
no quarterback needy team is going to draft anyone in the first round. So what do you think?
I think as we sit here on March 3rd, I would anticipate the top 3 guys going 1, 2, 3.
Mm,
Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and obviously Caleb Williams.
all right.
I just think that today in football, and it was apparent this year with the Chiefs not being the best team, but having the best quarterback, I think just teams are not going to pass on that.
Yep.
So we'll see. And teams might get crazy for quarterbacks later on in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Penix sneaks in late in the first round, or if the
Hmm.
Raiders maybe trade down and go get him, or the Seahawks do, given the offensive coordinator there now and him being a local kid. I keep hearing Bo Nix. I keep hearing JJ McCarthy as first round guys. I need to watch. I'm going to be honest. I haven't watched a lot of college tape as I do, but I just watching JJ McCarthy this season. I don't see it at all, but I got to watch myself. So I don't know. Just like it was a very run based offense and defensive oriented. I don't think he really did a lot, but that could just be me. So
Well, their star player was Blake Corum. Like, I don't know. Do you
exactly,
want to take a quarterback in the first round when their star player was the running back? I don't know.
especially in college football. So if you didn't stand out in college football, I don't know what you're going to be as a pro. But there's plenty of time for that. So I'm just saying that the combine was. I will say this. And actually this just happened. A very cool moment just happened on the combine. And very sad news. Chris Mortensen, news just came out that he just passed away, at the age of 72. And when I think of Chris Mortensen, I think of like the original, you know, uh, insider, the guy that actually broke news. It wasn't tweets. He would, jump on ESPN and tell you this guy got traded or this coach got fired. Like I think of the OGs of that era, like him, John Clayton, who's passed away, Peter King, who just retired, Ed Werder, all those guys that were just on TV all the time and just weren't, tweeting or. And I'll say this too, like I think you maybe have got to know him, Steven. I don't know if you did or not, if he came on it back in the day. Chris Mortensen, guys like him or John Clayton or Peter King, all knew the value of radio interviews. And I'm going to talk about this selfishly because we're radio people and producers, but they never really, you didn't have to go through anybody else. I know I understand like Rappaport and Pelissero and Schefter, they're big time now. They don't answer to text messages. But back in the day, John Clayton and Chris Mortensen, you could hit them up directly, and they were nice enough if they had time to give you their time to do interviews. They just knew the value in doing that stuff. And times have changed. I completely understand that, but they were pioneers of their time. They were. I mean, like I've seen so many tweets a day saying like Chris Mortensen was such a nice man, and he was my mentor. He did a lot for me in this industry. So very sad to see that stuff. And of course, I just, I'm bringing up the combine with that because Rich Eisen and Daniel Jeremiah just did a unbelievably loving tribute to Chris Mortensen. Daniel Jeremiah, I guess, was very close with him, and they just did a tribute to him not too long ago. And Daniel Jeremiah's in tears. So Chris Mortensen, RIP, had a huge impact on football and in media in general.
Yeah, just one of the good guys. Just one of the good guys. It's all you really need to know about. I've heard nothing but good things from anyone who's had any sort of run-in with him. And when you think of him and guys like John Clayton doing the radio interviews, what stands out to me is how quick they were. They do like they weren't going to draw
Yep.
out their answers. They were going to give you like 2, 3, 4 minute diatribes about what they think's going to happen. Those two guys would just keep it short, get right to the point, and give you like like at least with John Clayton. We didn't really have, or I wasn't on the board when they were doing weekly interviews with Mortensen too much, but when Clayton was on, he just literally come on, answer anything you had to ask, and then just okay, thank you. He would even say okay, thank you before like you said goodbye to him because he was
Oh,
just
dude,
that quick.
he would
Bing,
click
bing,
the
boom.
phone off before you
Yeah.
hung up the phone.
Yeah, every time. And then again with Mortensen, like you just hear that he's one of the nice guys in the industry. And
Yeah.
those are the types of guys that you always respected. So yeah, seeing that news just kind of makes you sad. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it might be obvious to say, but yeah, it's like, damn, no Mortensen anymore.
I know it's
Like,
the Mort report. It's the end of an era. It's those
yeah.
guys that like like just in the last week, Peter King retired. It's just like old school NFL insiders. Times are changing. Guys are all tweeting. No one writes columns as much anymore. A few guys do. Rappaport does, and Schefter does, I think, from time to time. But nah, it's just different. And yeah, sad to hear that news today.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have news. And finally, the white smoke came out, Steven, for the 49ers defensive coordinator job being filled. And it was not Brandon Staley. Nick Sorensen gets the job. But it's the best of both worlds because Brandon Staley gets a job as assistant head coach, which I kind of like because then Brandon Staley doesn't have to change the whole defense. He was more of a 3-4 guy. The defense stays the same. They have a guy that they're familiar with the 49ers. Nick Sorensen, as we said last time, you may remember him from playing in the NFL. He was one of those, white safeties, hard hitters, but not great in coverage. But he was solid. He's been a coach for a little bit of time now, not too long, but Shanahan felt comfortable enough to elevate him to defensive coordinator, and this is going to be very similar, I believe, to what the Philadelphia Eagles did a year ago, where they hired Sean Desai as the defensive coordinator, but Matt Patricia was there to help out in case things went wrong. The Raiders kind of had a similar situation a couple years ago when Ken Norton was DC, and they brought in John Pagano. Remember that, Steven?
Yeah,
And ended up
yeah.
hiring Ken Norton.
Yeah.
I think this is a similar situation where Kyle won't wait around too long. Hopefully, doesn't have to fire Nick Sorensen, but you best believe that Brandon Staley will be elevated if things go wrong defensively.
Yeah, that's not a good two situations to be reminded of.
Well, I know, but I think that's what they're doing right now.
Well, that's not good.
Well, let's be real.
Case, then how do you like the move and then say, "Oh, I think they're doing the same thing as the Eagles did," but the Eagles got rid of they basically let go.
Plan.
Yeah, but do you really want that? Like, does that bode well for? Is that really going to play out the same way?
I think when you have an inexperienced defensive coordinator, then yes.
Yeah, and they might be the same situationally, but not with how it will play out, because I think the Niners are in a much different position defensively than those guys. Because the Eagles, it's like you said all year, they didn't have any linebackers. Obviously, the Niners still have Fred Warner, they got Charvarius Ward, and they got that defensive line. And then the Raiders, all I remember with Tony Pagano from the Raiders is that he had to bury a football because we were starting off fresh.
No, that's Tony Sperano.
Oh, wait. My bad. Whoops.
similar Italian name, though.
Whoopsie.
No, John Pagano was the dude that came along when Ken Norton. It's Chuck Pagano's brother. He was with the Chargers for a little while, and he was hired to be a defensive assistant, and we all knew that was the writing on the wall that if Ken Norton sucked, then John Pagano was going to take over.
I don't like that. I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I don't see the point in that. Like, okay, you're going to have Brandon Staley take over then? So he's just going to be sitting around waiting for Sorensen to fail?
Well, I think he's going to help him. I think he's going to help him with scheming and whatnot, and he'll be kind of the, I guess I don't know.
I want to hear more on what Shanahan has to say and why he made the hire. Has he spoken about it yet?
Nope. probably won't be doing anything in the time being until I don't know
Okay.
when he's going to speak again. We're hoping he could jump on KMBR soon, but
Because I do want to hear the reasoning behind it. John Lynch talked, but John Lynch is, I always forget how good of a talker he is. That guy will talk up everything that they're doing. He's very calculated in what he says, but he likes where they're at. I just have to see it play out. I looked at that and I thought, that's an odd move. I guess I'm not totally against it because I don't know what his job will entail. I don't know the details of it.
Staley.
Yeah. Just
Well,
helping the defense. Like, why not make
my
him defensive
guy,
coordinator then?
my guy Eric Engel, formerly of KMBR, says Staley move is trash.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I know the Niner fans were going to be up in arms if he was going to be hired as defensive coordinator because we all remember what Staley was as the head coach. I wouldn't have had a problem with him being defensive coordinator. I think this is kind of a good situation to have a new guy that the team is a fan of. Obviously, they wouldn't make this move. Like I know people are like, Shanahan can get along with Steve Wilkes. I'm pretty sure he made that move also because the players were like, we need somebody else too. And they elevated Nick Sorensen because he's a guy from within. In the secondary, which not the strongest part of the Niners defense, but they feel comfortable enough with him. And Staley can, be there and help out. My thing though is it's very interesting. He's going to be assistant head coach. So usually in that role, you help the coach out with everything that's not game planning. You help him out with when to challenge. You help him out with when to go for it. And we all know that Brandon Staley loves to go for it all the fucking time, like ridiculously amount, like
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount, like going for it on his own 20-yard line. And Kyle Shanahan doesn't go for it on fourth down. He went for it during the Super Bowl. I give him credit for that, but he is notoriously known for not being aggressive enough on fourth down, where Brandon Staley was the complete opposite in that. So I wonder, is Staley going to help Shanahan be more aggressive in deciding when to go for it on fourth down?
Yeah, but how often did it work out for Staley? That's why he got fired.
Not very often.
It's a weird move, man. Like it's bizarre. I don't you want help being more aggressive? Here's how to help yourself being more aggressive. Be more aggressive. Just go for it on fourth down. Why do you need Brandon Staley to tell you when to do it?
Yeah, well, because he's like a kid in the candy store too. I can imagine now just be like, "Hey, Kyle, we should go for it here." And he's like, "All right, shut up, Brandon. I'm not fucking going for it right now."
It's just it's it's unique. The way that I'll put it is unique, and I don't know what his role is going to be. Look, in the end, the Niners are going to have a stacked offense again, unless something crazy happens this offseason. That Mike Silver article was pretty telling. Like, I got to be honest, when I read into that Mike Silver article, the number one name I thought of was Debo. Because of the way that he wrote about it, and talking about the 2 NFC championships and the Super Bowl and stuff, and that's where Brandon Ayuk wasn't in 2019. He was at ASU doing his thing in college.
Just for context, Mike Silver came out with an article basically saying that big changes are coming this offseason for the Niners, and productive players from the past may be out the door.
Yeah.
Now, Mike came on with us and basically said things were kind of aggregated about that, but that's what the article is basically that there will be big changes coming.
Yeah,
but we don't know what that is.
We don't know. We don't. So let's just operate under the assumption that they will have the same offenses next year. It's going to be not as prolific, but as long as they're healthy next year, then that offense is going to roll. And that defense is, well, it's going to suck without Dre Greenlaw, at least in the linebacking core and as an outside linebacker. But at the very least, you still got Bosa and Warner and, Hufanga coming back from an injury. You're going to have Charvarius Ward, who trying to get to that all-pro level, or at least to be named an all-pro. So, like, that defense, even though Staley's hired and Nick Sorensen's there too, I'm not seeing like a huge drop-off. I'm not seeing a huge improvement as to what it was last year. It feels like the Niners just kind of filled this role with a couple of guys who understand the system, or at least with one guy who understands the system and another who I think just wants to be around Kyle Shanahan. I think that's it with Staley. I think he loves Shanahan.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Brandon is kind of like the defensive-minded play caller, kind of like in the same vein as Kyle, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur. He's of kind of that way of thinking now, like younger, more innovative, progressive in the way that football is. And it just didn't work with the Chargers. He's not a head coach. That's just what it comes down to. He wowed everybody with the Ted Lasso quotes, and then it became clear that he just is ridiculous about going for it and fourth down. But maybe he'll be a better coach. He'll learn from Kyle, and maybe Kyle will be a better coach learning from him. I think this is just to save everybody. Like I know the Nick Sorensen move is kind of like, who's this guy? But I think that Kyle believes in him. I think the players believe in him, and he also wanted to bring in an established coach to help out with that. So while there are other examples of this happening, and none of them are good, I don't think this is a bad move.
Well, if history tells you anything and history continues, like it might not be a good move. I don't think anyone can say whether it's I can't say definitively whether it's good or bad because like to me, just getting rid of someone who was there last year and players having to learn under a whole new system and kind of start from fresh with Nick Sorensen. And I know they probably listened to him, and I'm sure the players gave Shanahan the go ahead. Like, yeah, this guy is built to be a defensive coordinator, but unless it turns into a Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans type of thing where those guys had been with Shanahan previously, like I can't say whether this move is good or bad. It just felt like this was the third or fourth option maybe that they were looking for.
Well, who do you think would have been better?
And
don't say I haven't heard anything about whatever that one Twitter account said, the Niners 24/7, that they called Belichick. I don't know if there's any concrete evidence that actually happened.
Well, if you're Shanahan, why wouldn't you call Belichick? You know what I mean?
I mean, but it also could be disrespectful. You could be like, you think I'm actually going to come and coach the fucking defense? Come on.
Well, I don't know, just gauging his interest. Why wouldn't you? I think that's kind of neglectful to just not even give a call to Belichick and see like, hey man, you got any chance you want to be a coordinator, like at all? Like,
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he jokingly was like, you're probably not into this and stuff, but would you want to be our defensive coordinator and stuff?
Yeah. But I don't know who would have been a better option, but like it just doesn't strike me as something that they necessarily wanted. Like I don't think this was the game plan here. I think when, D'Amico Ryans was taking over for Saleh, I think that was the game plan. They knew that Saleh was going to be going to become a head coach, and they were kind of grooming D'Amico Ryans for that role. They were getting him ready for that. And then the past few years, I don't think they had much of a plan after Ryans. They were going to go outside higher, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then I think they expected to stick with Steve Wilkes, but they didn't. And so now they're promoting a guy who was a defensive assistant, not 3 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, but they did swing for the fences. From what everybody says, they tried to get Steve Spagnuolo fresh off beating the Niners in the Super Bowl to be their DC, and then they tried to get Jeff Ulbrich, who's the current defensive coordinator for the Jets. So they tried. It's just they weren't going to continue on with Steve Wilkes, and this is probably the best move they can make, while also getting arguably the best defensive coordinator available. Yes, Belichick will be better, and yes, Mike Vrabel will be better, but those guys are not willing to take a lesser role at this point in their careers.
Yeah.
So they hired from within a guy that the players trust, and also brought in somebody that is an established coach. I don't think it's the worst decision. Is it going to pan out? I don't know, but I don't think it's a bad decision.
No, I mean, not necessarily, but I don't think that it's what they wanted. I just don't. I don't think they wanted to try and promote from within and find a new defensive coordinator this year.
No, of course not. Did they want to lose the Super Bowl either? No, but shit happens.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Back to the Mike Silver article real quick. When you read that, what is the first name that comes to your mind when you think of someone that could be Sylvester Stallone, or who else was in that movie? Terry Crews,
Jason Statham.
Yeah, there you go, Jason Statham. You're getting my analogy. Who's
Jet
expendable? Jet Li, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
no one that's been like productive in the way that the way that because it was very carefully worded. No one that's been a productive member of the 49ers for the ever since those Super Bowl years. Um, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Juszczyk could be that guy.
I can see
Like,
that.
what if they just don't have the money that they're willing to pony up for him because they got to pay Brandon Ayuk, and maybe they're going to keep Dre Greenlaw around so he can partner up with Fred Warner. Like those two guys love playing with each other. Like maybe it's Kyle Juszczyk or maybe it's Deebo Samuel. Like my mind went to Deebo Samuel, and I think it's where a lot of people's minds go because you're kind of in this negotiation thing with Brandon Ayuk where you get two different reports this morning. One saying that they're going to be willing to look for a trade if they can't come to an agreement, whereas the next report said, yeah, they're in contract negotiations right now. So, like,
Who had those two? I know Dan Graziano's been on uh, just a whole trip that Brandon Ayuk may get traded.
yeah, yeah,
He's the one pushing it the most.
yeah. So ESPN had it. I guess like NFL Network had the one that they're having, had the one that they're in negotiations right now for a new
Yeah.
deal. But yeah, Debo was immediately where I went because, um, as great as he is, can they keep him around with that contract if that means retaining Ayuk and also having the money to pay for Purdy? Like
Yeah.
the quarterback market's going to go up too,
Yep.
and the
No,
wide receiver market.
no, definitely. I do think about the Super Bowl. And I do think about them not building on the lead that they had and getting stagnant offensively. And Brandon Ayuk didn't have the best game in the world, but I think he's the better receiver between the two. And I think that Debo's a great player, but is he needed in order to be like I said last podcast? Like if you put him on the Chiefs, is Debo Samuel the difference maker when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't think so. I think it's Mahomes, and I think that while Debo does great things on the Niners, he's a great player. You may not need him in order to get to the next level. You
Yeah,
may need to look at other spots. Like this is a very heavy wide receiver draft.
yeah,
So who's the most expendable? Yeah, I'd say Debo.
yeah.
I'd say Debo's the most expendable Niner. I could even make the case just two catches in the Super Bowl for not a lot of yards. Maybe George Kittle.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they did draft a tight end in the third round last year, Cameron Latu, but that did not work out.
It did not, but then again, a lot of rookies just don't play in Kyle's system the first year. And John Lynch has made it apparent in the combine talks that you need two tight ends. They want to have a two
Right.
tight end set. So I think they're gonna stay with that. But if I had to guess, I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting. I could see anything from Brandon Ayuk getting his contract to Brandon Ayuk getting traded, to Debo getting traded. It's all over the place this offseason. That's why like the window hasn't closed, but it's getting thinner.
Thinner?
Or I don't know. It's closing.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you could say that. Yeah. Uh, But as long as if Brock Purdy plays at the level that he played last year, though, like this is just kind of separate to anything. But I think their window's going to be open for quite a bit because if your quarterback is playing at that level all season long, you're going to have a lot of chances to win games and get into the playoffs and potentially get yourself to a Super Bowl because, as good as like the team was, Brock Purdy had a damn good season in his first full season. So as long as he keeps that up, that Super Bowl window, it's not going to be wide open where, you could throw like a basketball through it, but it's going to be at least a little bit open. Give a little breeze into the proverbial Super Bowl house.
No chairlift analogy.
No chairlift. No chairlift. They're on their way. They're on their way. They're at the top. They're just like sitting there right at the top, waiting to go back down.
Ooh, did you see this?
No.
Russell
What?
Wilson deleting all Broncos stuff from his accounts. It's happening,
Wow.
Steven.
Oh, oh, this is not nothing.
There you
This
go.
is something.
There you
Mhm.
go. And we'll be all over it. A week from tomorrow, the fuckery begins. But we got plenty of time before that. The fuckery has been going on a long time in baseball, but just hasn't been as fluid or it's been more fluid, I guess. It just hasn't been more active because just baseball doesn't operate that way.
Right.
Until the other day, Matt Chapman going to the Giants.
Yeah.
What's the contract? 3 years, 54 million. Opt
Yep.
outs after the first 2 seasons. No
Yep.
surprise. Matt Chapman is very close with Bob Melvin. Your thoughts, Steven?
It's I don't really know what to think about it. Like, I still don't know whether I like it or not because Chapman, you've seen him become invincible at times. But in the end, like he can have May or June where he hits 300 and is like the player of the month for the American League, but then he still ends the year with hitting 240. Look, you're getting a solid guy on defense. We all know what Chapman can do at third base, and there's the familiarity with Bob Melvin. I just don't like that a lot of the younger players on the Giants are infielders, prospects that are supposed to be called up, and instead we are going to go get a free agent third baseman who is going to be turning 31. Um, has only been an all-star once. That was in 2019. And it just doesn't feel like it's an upgrade, really. It just kind of feels like you're moving laterally if you're not going to keep going with Casey Schmidt or Marco Luciano. Like Marco Luciano, the fact that Bob Melvin said the shortstop position's wide open right now when Farhan said earlier that they expect Luciano to take Crawford's spot, like that's not good this early in spring training. I know they got plenty of time to turn it around. I'm not going to overreact to that, but
I don't know.
this just proves to me they needed to upgrade in their infield. And if you would have asked me that like 3 years ago, I would have told you, no, we can just wait. We can wait for the infield because they're developing guys in the minor leagues that'll be major league ready. So I don't like that in from that respect.
I don't know, man. You listen to the quote there from Melvin. Sounds like there could be a AJ Preller situation on the horizon already.
AJ Preller. Oh God.
No, I mean Bob and Farhan know each other well, but
Yeah.
it does seem to me like from a distance, like not being a fan, just kind of like when I've listened to Bob in these press conferences or quotes, when like the other day, I think Andrew Baggerly brought up, Tristan Beck, whatever's going on with him, the arm aneurysm,
Yeah.
and there was like he's like, there's a couple pitchers available in free agency that you go after, Bob, and he's like, oh, you think?
Yeah.
Like I think there's a little frustration. I think there's a little frustration in them not doing everything that they were hoping to do this offseason. But I think Matt Chapman was always in the plan. I think that Bob loves him, and I think Chapman refers to Bob as a father figure. So that's not surprising to me. What is surprising to me, I brought this up last time, is just how terrible baseball free agency has become. It's slow as molasses. Scott Boras has taken it over. Just now, more guys are being signed, but it's really just because of a deadline. You want to get these guys in before the season starts. We're about a month away or less than a month before we start actually the season. And everyone keeps bringing up Blake Snell. And I mean, do you expect the Giants to get Blake Snell, Steven?
I think they're in the running. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think so. I and I Blake Snell turned down a contract earlier this offseason from the Yankees that was like 6 years. I don't know what the dollar amount was on the top of my head. But I've always wondered Blake Snell and Bob Melvin's relationship. And I've heard from people that they didn't get along in San Diego.
Oh.
And Adam Copeland asked him straight up uh, what the relationship was like. You can look at articles from a year ago that Blake Snell wasn't happy from being pulled in games quite early, like 6 innings in. I don't think that necessarily he may have been mad at Bob, but it was maybe a more AJ Preller thing because Bob voiced his frustrations with him. But we asked Andrew Baggerly what their relationship is like, and he didn't come out and say they're the best of friends. He didn't come out and say they hate each other, but there was a hesitation. I think it's kind of known behind the scenes that Blake Snell and Bob Melvin did not necessarily get along in their time with San Diego. So I do not count on him becoming a Giant.
Oh, all right. Interesting. Because I would think it's a little different for Snell. Because the AJ Preller thing, it's like you mentioned. I think it was AJ Preller who was trying to pull the strings. And if you have a guy like Melvin, I think you'd be willing to leave Snell in a little bit longer. than some other managers would. They just look at the numbers and think he can't do it. But looking at his game logs, though, I mean, he was towards the end of the season, at least, he was going strong 5, 6, 7 innings, really never left in through the 8th and 9th. But no, it's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yep. Don't know if it's 100% true, but that's just things that people have said behind the scenes.
Yep. All right.
So we'll see what they do on the pitcher market. But yeah, those are you expecting, or is there anything you really were hoping for before the season starts, Steven?
Shohei. That's what I wanted.
Well, yeah, obviously, but what's feasible right now?
What's feasible is they're probably going to be a 4th place team in the NL West. What do you want me to say?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's your expectation right now.
Yeah, they're still building. I don't know, maybe the Padres drop off, but like they're still building their team. And I don't know, when I'm still seeing names like Michael Conforto and JD Davis, Austin Slater, Mike Yastrzemski, and all of that. Plus the way that Farhan ended things with Brandon Crawford.
Yeah,
I
I wanted to bring that up too.
I do wonder like what the team thinks of Farhan in general and all of this going over their heads, the lack of communication. I wonder how how his other teammates felt about that last year, because it's not just Crawford going through that.
Oh, I know. I think that's another thing that's not talked about a lot is the team's perception of Farhan and free agents' perception of Farhan. And Brandon Crawford made it abundantly clear that he is not a fan of Farhan.
Yeah.
I think he alluded to it and kind of danced around it when he did interviews with us, where he was like, "Yeah, I'm not a big fan of not knowing if I'm going to play today or kind of the
Right.
analytics stuff." But he didn't go in on Farhan until the article with Bags, where he said, "I would have loved to come back, and I wanted to come back, and there was one guy in the organization that didn't want me to come back, and he wanted me to come back and try out as a veteran, and with no, I wanted to help out Luciano, and I wanted to be, that guy, that mentor, but he basically told me you'll have to try out like Pablo, so it's not worth it for me."
Yeah.
What was your reaction to all that?
Oh yeah, it's just it's the same with anyone, right? Like you take, for one, Farhan in a way has blamed the city of San Francisco more or less for the free agents. In part, has
You think he has more than Buster?
Not as much as Buster. Buster was more straightforward, but Farhan implied it, though, in an
Okay.
SF Chronicle article before Buster did that whole thing this past offseason. So Farhan did it the year before.
Okay.
And maybe there is a sense of truth to that. Like, when I'm walking to see MJ, the musical at Orpheum, and I'm walking down Market Street, you're like, good God, this place. You know what I mean? When you're walking down that specific street, it's not great. But to do that, and then just to take one of the all-time Giants fan favorites, the only guy who had any jerseys being worn around Oracle Park, and you just basically let him go without saying anything. You just kicked him out the door and didn't even give him a chance to come back. Didn't give him a reason to stay. All that sort of stuff. It's just not how you treat players. And it's this human element to things where it seems like Farhan hasn't exactly gotten the grasp of that as far as being a president of baseball operations standpoint. Like it's more like a business, and I understand that, but you got to have there is on a human level, you got to do your job. And I think that they owed it to Brandon Crawford, if he was willing to stay on a backup role, to at least explain why they wouldn't want him there instead of just like doing all these things and jumping through hoops to make it harder for him to come back.
Okay, so are you more so mad that they didn't bring him back? Because let's be honest, he hasn't had a great last few seasons. But you're mad the way they handled it.
Yeah, I just didn't like the way that they sent him off, and it's a little different, say, than like the Derek Carr situation with the Raiders, because Carr, after all, was the starting quarterback. And everyone thought that he was going to take the next jump. Whereas Crawford, he's proven, 2-time World Series champion, a mainstay at shortstop, opening day shortstop on 12 of the 13 seasons or whatever it was, or 12 straight seasons. Everything that he's done for the organization, being from Pleasanton, going to Foothill and being a 2-sport star athlete, and just for all of that, just to end that way. Yeah, it made me look at Farhan and think, like, do you really understand that there is this level of affinity that we have towards these players? It felt like a slap in the face.
I can see that, but I think also he's just trying to do his job. What did you want him to do? I don't think that. I mean, he did give him an opportunity to come back, and yes, it would have been in a lesser role, but at that point, we may experience some of Klay Thompson this offseason. Do you really want to come back
Derek, the number one thing that I wanted him to do, it's not bring back Crawford. Like, because look, he gave him a 2-year contract extension after he went off in 2021. All right. So he made him a deal and kept his career going for 2 more years, when really after 2020, like, I'd kind of given up on Crawford. I was like, this guy just has no emotion. It doesn't even look like he wants to be out there. But at least leave things in a way that could look appealing for anyone else to maybe join the Giants. Like, can you imagine
that.
These other players who are, trying to make a name for themselves? Maybe they are free agents and they look at that and they're thinking, God, if that's how, like, a legendary player who turned into one of the best at the position that ever played for their franchise, and that's how they left it. Like, that's my main concern with it, is the optics from the outside and other players wanting to join. Like, if you want to help yourself in free agency, are you going to be able to do that? Like, what's what's the other Crawford? What's Reggie Crawford thinking? What's Bryce Eldridge thinking? They're first round picks that are going to be built through the minor league system. Like, you're going to be homegrown players, and this is the guy that I got to work for.
They're probably going to thinking, when am I going to play?
Yeah. Like, that's the number one thing to me. It's not so much like how they handled him as far as staying with the team. It's the optics of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. And I think that Farhan has definitely gotten a ton of criticism, and he was awarded with a contract extension this offseason. But fans don't, I mean, they're willing to give Bob Melvin a pass because he's the guy that they wanted. He was probably the top of the list as far as managers this offseason. But I think a lot of fans wanted to see change with Farhan not being there. And I don't really know. I mean, like, I think Gabe Kapler was awful, and I think that Farhan hasn't done the right things, but I think that there is something there. I think that he's a very bright guy. I just think that he goes about things very differently than what Sabian did and what Bochy did, and it's just hard for Giants fans to come to terms with it, that it's not the same way that things have been run 10 years ago when this team won, 3 championships. So
Right.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of, yeah, they've made poor decisions, but at the same time, I think it's fans just not coming to terms with the times are changing, and Crawford's going to leave, and Brandon Belt's going to leave, and they may not get big send-offs just because Farhan wasn't there from the beginning. And it's a shitty way to end things, but that's just the business of baseball.
Yeah, but you could have gone about it differently. Like, that's the end.
I don't doubt that.
You could have gone about it differently.
I don't doubt that, man. But I don't know. I think a lot of fans agree with you, though. I think a lot of fans are like, we didn't necessarily want Crawford back, but we would have loved if this article didn't come out with a very scathing review of the current GM.
Yeah.
That has to go out and convince Blake Snell to come sign with us.
Right. And convince Scott Boras that your client is perfect for our team.
Yes. Well, there's already bad blood from a year ago with Scott Boras. But that's just agent shit. All right, enough drama. Let's get to what people came here for today.
Uh-huh.
The first annual JYOMMYs.
Woo!
Oh, yeah. I don't know what the hell this thing is going to be. It is our award show where we're going to honor the fans. We're going to honor players and moments on the show and things that we like. So where should we start, Steven? Where do you want to take this thing?
Ooh, I don't know. Well, at first, I think we should tell them we do have several different categories. And to be honest, we're not going to do like a whole bunch of nominees. We'll list them off, but we're not going to like play every single nominee, because we have like sound of the year candidates. We have impression of the year candidates. We have sports moment of the year candidates. But, if we played the nominees for every one, then this thing would end up going like, say, the Oscars or the Grammys, where the award show is just too damn long. So we're just going to go through each category. We'll list off a couple of the nominees, and then we'll give our winners. Derek and I have one each that we chose.
Okay, and do we have send-off music?
And we don't have send-off music for any speech, but
If your spiel is just going too long, or you got to make some political statement, just wrap it up.
Yeah. If you're gonna talk about anything other than sports, get off the stage.
Exactly. Where some of these awards may not be sports related, but regardless, let's begin with the first award of the evening. Steven, do you want to do the honors of picking an award that you came up with?
Ooh, all right, we can go with prediction of the year if you want.
Let's do it then. All right, Steven.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Look, you got production value. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, prediction of the year. Steven, who did you, I'm assuming you give it to yourself or me for a terrible prediction, but what was your winner?
Well, I picked both of us, really. What we did in Major League Baseball. Actually, our NFL predictions weren't terrible. If you go back and listen to our division picks, they weren't awful.
I just pick the Bills every year to win, and I'm stupid for it. I don't know why.
It's not those though. We went with different awards and stuff, but you know what, the best prediction that we had, I gotta say that I was very much right on one particular team in these predictions, but with both of our Major League Baseball predictions, that's where our early season ones, they could fall flat because it's a 162 game season. There's a lot that could happen. But
yeah, didn't you and I pick the Mets and Yankees to play in the World Series?
So we did, and winning. This is so bad. And winning the American League Central, I predicted the Guardians would win the Central when they actually came in third, and they weren't even any better than the Tigers this year. They went 76-86, and then you predicted the Angels would make it to the wild card. So the best prediction is us being totally wrong on the Guardians and Angels.
Okay. I want a little credit, though.
Whoop.
Do you remember who I picked to win the AL Central this year?
No, who was it?
Well, you mocked me.
Oh, yeah.
For picking the Twins.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they won. So,
yeah.
For a guy that doesn't know baseball, you could kiss my ass.
I did. Yeah. But that's the prediction of the year. Us just being totally wrong. Because you had the Angels making the wild card, and you're like, you spaced it out. By the way, I would be pulling a lot of older video and stuff with this, but to be honest, I wasn't using my microphone at the time, and the audio really sucks. And it's a long story.
Even though like you moved for a long time, you still couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, this is a type of thing where you really got to take the year into account and save the stuff. We thought about this like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and there's stuff from earlier in the year that's just not even saved, and we only have so much audio going back to November.
But besides the great graphics you have, there's not a lot of thought put into this. I mean, like, it's not as intricate as my man Eric Engel, who used to do the Murph and Mackeys. This is just a half-ass production here for the JYOMMYs.
It is. This is just the first annual. We will be getting better at this as time moves on, but yes.
Well, I'll give you my winner for best prediction of the year.
What's that?
And I'm giving myself a little pat on the back here, because a year ago at this time, the news came out. What's going to happen with the 49ers quarterback situation? Brock Purdy, he's got the UCL tear. We don't know if he's going to be ready for training camp. Trey Lance, what about that guy? Huh? And then Sam Darnold signed. And I came on this podcast and said to you, I believe that Sam Darnold's going to be the backup quarterback and Trey Lance will not be on the team. And you said, well, that's a hell of a prediction. If you get that right, you don't have to do hot sauce for the rest of the show.
I said that?
You did say that.
Well, good. Maybe we'll get a punishment where you actually react.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You had Trey Lance being gone. Congratulations. Way to go. Yeah.
Yes. I predicted the demise of Trey Lance.
Oh, way to go. Wow.
Yep.
Forgot about that one.
All right. You know what? I'll pick one, Steven.
All right.
Let's do dumbest story of the year.
That's just like your opinion, man.
All right. So what? These are pretty good. So what
What is it?
was? Yeah, a little dude and a little nice, little like MTV Movie Award graphics. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Lights
So
flashing for the coveted JYOMMY award.
okay, I'll give you mine, and I'll just make it quick and simple. The story that I got tired of all the time this season, or just year in general, was Brock Purdy, and is he good enough? Is he, you know, is he elite? Is he in the same category as other guys that are playing well in the NFL this season? Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott, all the guys that were having really good seasons. And then who's this Brock Purdy guy? Oh, he's a system quarterback. It got nauseating. It was lazy. It was just a very, very dumb topic. And that's my dumbest story of the year.
Wow. I got one, and this has
Okay.
been ongoing for the past year, but I just can't get over the details of it. And maybe it's because I'm suffering from recency bias, but this truly did last for the entire year and reached its culmination. Well, I guess it's actually reached its culmination in July when the sentencing's happening. But have you seen this thing with Chiefsaholic?
Yeah, you say this is dumb?
Yeah, this is the dumbest thing that's gone on through the year. We're hearing
Oh.
a mascot rob several banks across the United States. And then his lawyer comes out
This is
before
gold. Even this is fucking gold.
before he pleads guilty. And he did plead guilty, and he's probably going to be going to jail for 50 years. Again, he's going to be sentenced in July, but 50 years was the number that was read. And this was the lawyer. This is the second time. They did this back in August, too, because he got arrested in Lincoln, which is near the Sacramento area.
Nebraska?
No, California. It's near Sacramento. And his lawyer had a statement that was filled with football puns. And then this one, just this previous week, I mean, come on.
From the beginning of this case, folks, the government has been blitzing. Xavier's pocket was collapsing. But today, Xavier stepped into the pressure. He took responsibility for his actions. He stood up in court, humble and repentant, and admitted what he had done. Now,
all right, that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. He goes through a couple of them, but he basically says, that he hears you, and much like the Chiefs, he will storm back or something. And
His
he's
knee did not go down, Steven.
His knee did not
go down.
So that, to me, gets the JYOMMY for the dumbest story of the year because it's popped up throughout the year, and we just had to close it out with that.
See, I strongly disagree. I'm going to be Kanye West that storms the stage and say this should not have happened. And
why?
Well, I don't like Kanye West storming on anything these days, but just to make that reference. So it's a fascinating story.
Is it?
Yes, because you got crime, you got football, you got a wolf that in sheep's clothing, huh? And you have like a well-known. This would be like if Gorilla just went around the country and started robbing banks. Like, this is fascinating to me. And yes, the Lionel Hutz lawyer is hilarious. So while the Brock Purdy stuff was shoved down our throats, this is not dumb to me at all. This is a very fun, goofy, stupid story that I loved.
I think it's so dumb that it's a thing. That this Chiefsaholic fan.
But you enjoy it to some degree.
Of course I did. I enjoy everything dumb. I mean, there's a lot to unpack. I mean, the Aaron Rodgers saga probably would be number one, and like the whole thing with Darkness Retreat and immediately saying that he emerged from the darkness. That was like my number one, but it felt like Aaron Rodgers was too obvious, and this was something that's been going on literally for the entire year. So the JYOMMY for dumbest sports story of the year goes to the Chiefsaholic saga.
I don't know if I like that one, but okay. All right, moving on. Since we played that sound, I want to do sound of the year. There's a lot of great sound this year. We play a lot of great sound on this podcast.
Oh, I forgot the sound of the year one. Hang on.
You don't have the graphic?
No, give me a second.
All right. I'll filibuster. I'll filibuster.
Yeah.
I'll be like Warren. Oh, you got it?
I got it.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Look at you. I was gonna be like Warren Beatty at the Oscars, just messing up and be like, La La Land. All right.
Oh,
So there's a lot of great sound this year. And just case in point, the lawyer for the Chiefsaholic. A lot of fun sound that we listen to on this podcast. But I don't think I've had more fun and been creeped out more than listening to Stephen A. Smith talk about what's going on with Zion Williamson and Mariah Mills. Do you have some of that audio, Stephen?
Oh, I got it.
Let's play. I know this is long. Let's just play like a snippet of this.
Apparently, a girl by the name of Mariah Mills is all
He knows who she is.
calling him out by name, attaching his name to stuff, and saying, giving vivid details of their encounters with one another. She's a porn star. Now, y'all gonna sit up there and say, damn, where's Stephen A going with this? Where am I going? Are you ready for this?
So he doesn't even know where he's going.
I'm kind of pissed. Kind of pissed off. Because all I can think about is, man, you only played 29 games last year. And you missed the season before that. And I've been wondering what the hell is taking you so long to get healthy. Well, now I know. I mean, forget all this stuff. That's his personal business. She put it out there. It's a damn shame. My advice to you youngins out there, you can't always police what your partner is going to do. What's going to be publicized, what's not going to be publicized. You got to cancel them immediately if they're willing to betray your trust like that. I know I would. Second order of business is that chances are if you mess with a porn star, it's going to be public. I don't call Jimmy Garoppolo porn star Jimmy for nothing. The man went to a damn restaurant in Melrose, right there at Beverly Hills with the porn star. Clearly you wanted everybody to know you porn star Jimmy. Porn star Zion doesn't exactly ring the same way as porn star Jimmy. But that porn star didn't talk about Garoppolo the way this one is talking about Zion. And I'm not going to repeat what she said. It's not appropriate, even for YouTube. I'm not doing it.
I'm sorry. We got to keep on playing it, man. It's too good.
All right. Go for it.
Because I don't care. You're young. You're not married. You can do what you want to do with whomever you choose. It's your business. It's a damn shame she putting your stuff out like that. Need to cancel her. But there's a bigger issue here. I mean,
Okay.
she's a porn star. One would surmise she's kind of an expert at whatever it is she does. And, I've been waiting for the leg injury to cure to heal, Zion. I've been waiting for a while. She's been waiting for a while. New Orleans has been waiting for a while. I mean, we've been waiting, man.
All right, we get it. Just the
It's gonna-
inflections and him like basically deciding on the spot which way am I going with this?
yeah.
And then he did.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It's art.
It's comedy. It's
Yep.
pure comedy.
Full on
especially-
art.
Especially if you know the whole story there, where Mariah Mills was talking about, oh, you're gonna have a baby with me after you spit in my mouth. It's like way too many details. So yeah, that's my winner. A close second. I laughed my ass off when this happened. When Adam Schefter broke the Aaron Rodgers news, the trade on
Yeah.
NFL Live, and he was like, "Swagoo, shut up for a second. I got all the details. It's coming in real time. Hold on. Oh, Jesus, this is the biggest moment of my life." It was just hilarious, the way he was panicking, but nothing compares to Stephen A. talking about porn stars.
No, well, I got one other JYOMMY to hand out. So you get one to Stephen A. Smith. I give it to this guy. This guy at the Astros game who is in left field. They're playing the Yankees, and he went over. He pulled a Steve Bartman. This was a nationally broadcast game, so it was on ESPN, and it was his little what would I say, bleacher interview, I guess, with ESPN and Buster Olney when he met with them. This, to me, is the sound of the year.
Tell us about that play and how it developed.
So pretty much, I'm out here with my son. This is our first ever game. We just moved here to Houston literally in January, and I just wanted to make the moment special for him. As a father, I feel like it's my job to make sure that I give him the best moments. I apologize to the Astro organization. I didn't know it from, y'all gotta understand, when it's dropping down, it looked like it's coming directly to you. So I reached, and my body went for what I know. But we did have a wonderful moment.
Okay, so you reach out, and what was the reaction that you heard right after the play was over?
The reaction was shock, disgust, happiness, sweat, a little bit of lust, baby. You feel me? I'm feeling kind of hurt, because my fingers still shaking a little bit. The ball way heavier with the gravity. I'm not gonna lie to you. Charlie Ray, we're gonna be on TV, baby.
So tell me, it looked like that you went away for a bit and then you came back. How'd you talk your way back?
So truthfully, Houston loves me and I love Houston, and they cannot stop me from supporting the Astros. So what happened was, I almost had to give them pop, 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 pop real quick on them, but they wasn't listening, so I showed some love and they let me come back. They really were just trying to make sure that I wasn't hurt and that making sure that we didn't go off the rails. So salute to the whole organization, great staff. They made sure that I was healthy and I was enjoying the game. They wasn't even making it serious.
We gotta be on we gotta be on TV, baby.
That was my favorite because it gave you a heartwarming story of a father and son attending a baseball game. The fact that he called them the asteroids. It hurt a lot more with gravity.
A little bit of lust.
A little bit of lust, baby. And then the Kansas City Royals hat just to bring it all in. So the JYOMMY goes to that random fan of the Houston Asteroids. And then, of course, for you, Stephen A. Smith.
Love it. If Bartman was that charismatic, people would be less angry.
If what?
If Steve Bartman was as charismatic as that guy, people would have been less angry. No,
I don't know.
Come on, that was a regular season game, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. Because if it didn't happen, like if it happened to an Astro, if it actually happened to the Astros, then we might not be we might be talking a different story here. That happened with the Yankees away.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, like Steve Bartman, that happened at Wrigley Field,
and it was also the NLCS,
and it was
1 out away from going to the World Series.
Correct. And
I'm joking, obviously, but maybe if you had some, if you had some swag to yourself, Steve Bartman, then just, oh god, everybody's looking at me.
It's true.
Maybe you could have, if you're more confident.
It's true.
I'm blaming him. I'm blaming Bartman, as I always have.
Right.
All right, Steven, what's an award that you want to give out?
Let's go for, you want to go for prediction or not prediction, impression of the year?
Let's do it.
That's just like your opinion, man.
And I believe we have nominees for this one.
Yeah, we have a few.
Okay.
Just only 4 of them, honestly. These aren't
then
that
you know
great.
what? I'm going to give this will be a fan award. We'll let Ernie 2, AJ Cruz, and is Eric still out there? Maybe not Eric. But we'll let the fans decide, because that's an even number. We'll let the fans decide who gets this award for impression of the year between you and me, right?
Yeah, although I got to admit, this is impression of the past 5 months, because I only have video dating back to 5 months. Actually, clear.
That's fine. You work with what you got, man.
Yeah, I know. I probably shouldn't say anything, but whatever. All right, number 1, we have you doing Kermit the Frog. I don't think I want to commit. I gotta go take care of my son, Tiny Tim. And
all right, Derek.
Could have been that angry. All right, I tried.
Was that the name of the pitcher, the Chance pitcher that always do the Kermit the Frog impression?
Yeah, Derek Holland.
Yeah.
Why
are there so many? What's on the other side? All right.
There's only 4 more sheep till Christmas. Wow.
I mean, yours isn't bad either. Hey,
just great stuff.
Yeah. Just do a Kermit, baby. All right. What's the second nominee?
All right. Second nominee is me doing an impression of your dad. What did I hear him say? They're going to get down and purdy today. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So far, that's the last one.
What did I hear him say? Like, they're gonna get down and purdy today. Mm-hmm. I think
All
it's
right.
good.
Okay.
I think it's a solid.
I bet you do.
I think that's a solid one. Oh, and we got Ernie too chiming in. This was the next one. You, an Italian American NFL analyst, doing a rundown of the week's games.
Jake Browning, not too bad. should I do the rest of these in Italian accent?
Yes.
Hey, the Ravens. Hey, they won in overtime. I don't know if I'm buying their offense, but hey, Rams. I can see them sneak in. You know what I mean?
Lamar Jackson, pretty good.
Hey, you know who's looking pretty good? Joe Flacco. Hey, throwing to David Njoku. Look at him. Look at him. Hey, but I'll tell you what, man. Trevor Lawrence doing too fucking much, especially on that high ankle sprain. Hey, I don't know about that. Lions. Oh, too many kneecaps, huh? Jared Goff. What the fuck's the matter with you? Come on, put the ball in the end zone. What we doing here? And the NFC South's a fucking joke. Come on, Saints, Bucks, Falcons. All you guys, forget about it. I think that was me as Tommy DeVito's agent.
Yeah.
We were having fun with Italian accents, as most of America was during that time. All right, so those are the three choices.
No, I got one more.
You got one more? Okay.
I got two from myself and two from you.
Gotcha.
One more here. Me
right.
doing Cat Williams. How can one come to LA, not do a set at the Comedy Store, get his own sitcom, and star in a movie called Soul Plane? How does that happen? The gatekeepers. That's how that happens. You know the gatekeepers around here? There's a lot of them.
That's pretty good.
That's
actually
so
did you see Dan what's his name? Dan Soda, I think his name is. You know him, the comedian?
Yeah.
Did you hear when he went on Rogan's podcast doing Cat Williams impression?
No.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
There's not a day that goes by that Shane Gillis doesn't text me. Like it's Cat Williams like doing. There isn't a day that goes by that Shane Gillis doesn't text me and he says you're gay.
Yeah. Yeah. I did you watch Cat Williams on Joe Rogan by any chance?
I did not. I got enough of Cat Williams from the 4-hour epic interview he did with Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, well, it's a much different interview though. Like Shannon is just leading him on, just asking him questions about like his Hollywood career. Him and Rogan were like talking about
conspiracy shit.
A little bit, yeah, but how like history plays out. My only thing with Cat Williams is like, God damn it, speak louder into the microphone. Like, that's my only critique. He thinks he could just speak as quiet as he possibly can just because he's on a podcast and can do whatever he wants. But like, come on, man. I need you to give me a little oomph here.
Yeah, come on. All right, so Ernie's, AJ Cruz. Where are we going here? Who wins Impression of the Year?
It looks like we got a pretty clear winner here. And
me doing the Italian voice.
Yes, it is. Congratulations, Derek.
I'll take it, I guess.
You get it for Impression of the Year. Woo!
I thought my Romo and Collinsworth are pretty good too, but I guess we didn't have time for those clips.
You do have a good Romo and Collinsworth. I couldn't find it.
Here's the guy. Oh, Jim. It's the same voice, really. It's the same voice. By the way, you surprised that Steph Curry knew who Shane Gillis was?
No.
I don't know. I was
No, I'm not surprised. No, Steph's he's a huge comedy fan.
Actually, I shouldn't be surprised because I literally just listened to his interview with Lisa Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, I listen every week to this podcast. So I'm not surprised. I just think that, like, Steph's like, I watch Shane Gillis when Aisha goes to bed. I don't want her knowing that I listen to that.
Yeah, but he's not even like that edgy though. That's the weird part about it. The thing after like Saturday Night Live, when I saw the reaction to it, just because everyone associates him with Joe Rogan, like they think that he's some crazy, just I guess conspiracy is the only word that we use here now, but just this crazy, extreme right wing guy, and it's
he's not that
bizarre. It's so bizarre. And I thought he did a really good job on Saturday Night Live.
All right, fair enough. I did see the one sketch they did with rock bottom gambling.
Yeah, you got that. There was one where There's one where they're doing a high school reunion for Forrest Gump's high school, and Shane Gillis played like this bully who just kept trying to talk smack about Forrest Gump, but couldn't. Because, yeah, it was really good.
That's pretty good. Okay, I'll go back and check that out.
Mhm.
Let's do sports moment of the year.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Steven, who you got here?
I got one, and I know I've been giving a lot of baseball picks really with these awards, but when I think back on the year that was, and I think about like the best moments, and naturally, since we are a Bay Area centric podcast, I'm not gonna like if I'm looking at the Chiefs overtime win, like in the Super Bowl, like if it's any other team, I'll probably call that the best moment of the year just because, but it's the Chiefs, so I'm not gonna give it to them. If that was any other team, then maybe.
Right.
But my number one, hands down, and I don't think anything topped this, but it was the World Baseball Classic, Japan and USA in the final. Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, last at bat. How often are you ever going to get that circumstance? Very rarely, if ever, where two teammates at the height of their powers are going against each other, one pitching, one hitting, and Shohei striking them out to end it for Japan to win. To me, that's the number one sports moment of the year, no question.
Well, Steven, you know me. I'm more of a football guy than baseball guy. Even more of a basketball guy than baseball guy. But I think this may be the one award where you and I are simpatico. I can't think of anything that topped that. It was awesome, especially when they were teammates. It was just the biggest climax you can get to a game. Like everything that everybody wanted happened. Just the stars that both those guys are. So I can't top that either. I think that Shohei Ohtani striking out Mike Trout for Japan to win the WBC was huge and the biggest sports moment of the year.
Woo!
All right. Which one you got next, Steven?
Hey, isn't that it? We got one more.
Is there any more?
I think we got Opiner of the year, and that's it.
Oh, I got Jackass of the year.
Oh yeah, we got Jackass of the year.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right. A lot of people to choose from. Could do David Tepper for just being a ridiculous owner for the Carolina Panthers, whether he was firing Frank Reich prematurely, in my opinion, didn't even know what he wanted with that coach or player and CJ Stroud, or him throwing a drink at some player in Jacksonville. I'm trying to think of other guys, but nothing really takes the cake more than John Fisher and everything that went down with the Oakland A's this year. Just still looks terrible. Don't know what's going to happen. You have Jeff Passan just laughing about the A's on a PTI interview. I mean, this is the Adam Schefter, the Adrian Wojnarowski of your league, and he's mocking you on live television. And I can't think of anybody besides Rob Manfred that likes this guy or Dave Cavill. So it's been a fucking joke. And yeah, I don't think anybody has been a bigger jackass than John Fisher.
No, I mean that's the number one. I think we would have agreed on that anyway. I mean, we kind of jumped to that conclusion before we even thought of the JYOMMYs, which was, yeah, if we had to have a Jackass of the year, it'd probably be him. Like, who else would it be, especially in Bay Area sports? But I think there is, I mean, there's obviously a lot of candidates. Like, I think you could even throw one with Kevin Durant and the fan that was talking to him the other day. Like,
Yes.
I know it's very recent, but good God, we haven't had a video like that up close, really. Like we've seen players get pissed at fans before in the stands for whatever they said, and they might have revealed what they said afterward, but we haven't actually seen video of a guy calling him the B word just as he's walking by. Then Kevin Durant walks back, calls him out, and then you hear the guy try to invite him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, God, I wish that would have come out earlier because that would take the cake. But there's also one more. And this is a guy who we talk about entirely too much on this podcast. We recognize his name too much. And anyone who listens to this is probably going to know who I'm talking about. But after I saw what he did with that one other sports publication, Dove Kleiman is my Jackass of the year. So I guess round of applause for those guys. Like when I saw
that really is his name.
Yeah, right. Like when I saw the thing with yeah, whatever that sports site was. I don't remember what it was, but pretty
ML
much
football or
no, it wasn't that, but it was something else where Dove Kleiman
Yeah.
used to work at their company, or they hired him to do social, to do live game stuff, and he stunk at it, so they let him go, but he kept the login to their thing and to their Twitter account, and he used that to go through and comment on different aggregators, his competitors, so to speak, like ML football or JPA football or whomever, I guess guys that that publication is friends with. And he went around and just commented on everything that they put, just saying falsehoods, just trying to paint them in a bad light, and say like, this Doug Kleiman guy, this is the guy that you got to follow if you want all your content news and whatever. I unfollowed him towards the end of this year. I just couldn't take it anymore. So for all of that, to me, he is my Jackass of the year, and I don't even know if it's a real person.
I like the selection, even though for whatever reason I am still following him and checking every day if there's anything new.
You're checking
NFL-wise.
his page every day?
Not his specifically, but it pops up in the For You section.
Yeah.
just get me to the real thing already. All right. Did you have a I saw you text this. I don't know if you have it ready. Did you have a category for best use of Who's My Guy?
Oh God. Yeah, that took forever.
Off the top of my head, I would say when I didn't know or I confused. What's her? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting her name. Sabrina
Ionescu for Caitlin Clark. That was recent.
Yes. Yeah, that was recent and not great.
Yeah. Yeah. You had a handful of them. They were before there was one that was pretty bad where Jesse messaged me afterwards and said, you need to clip this and put it on YouTube. And unfortunately it was a little too far in the Rolodex where he didn't have the clean audio for it.
Ah, damn.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one that was bad.
I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, in my forgetful age now, I'm forgetting people's names more and more, and it just sucks. So I go to the classic, Who's My Guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm lazy.
Yep.
All right, and we have one more award to give out, and it's for the fans, the people
that's
that
just like your opinion, man.
Opiner of the year, the guys that watch us week in and week out, or when we do this thing day in and day out, always check in on what we're doing, support us, and we have a lot of great people that watch the podcast or listen to it, and loyal guys from Ernie 1 to Ernie 2 to Ernie, or I already said Ernie, AJ Cruz, Skills, Danny Golding TV, Alon, our friend who fills in from time to time, even Evan Giddings, who came on with us a couple weeks ago, Alexander Scott. We just got a lot of people that support the podcast, so thank you guys for doing that. But I think that me and Steven are in agreement. There's one guy that has supported us basically not from day one, but pretty early on, and then everybody else followed him. So I think hands down, Opiner of the year goes to Ernie Chavez, who's been with us for a very long time. And not that we don't love everybody on this podcast that support us, but Ernie's been with us for, God, a little over like 2 years now. So
yeah,
shout out to Ernie Chavez, man. You're our Opiner of the year.
Yeah, he's Ernie 1. It was Rockin' New Era was very close. Like, it's very close second because he's been doing a lot of talking or the lot of
it was Ernie 1, Ernie 2, yeah.
He's keeping the chat going. He's always doing the over-unders and the time that we're going to end, the time that we arrive. He's always setting the lines, and we appreciate everything that Ernie 2 does. But Ernie 1 was there from like the very start. And then slowly we've started to build up this little Just Your Opinion Man family, so to speak. And it's
family that we never see.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool because like, I don't know how you know more about like the listener numbers and stuff and what we get as far as downloads on like different streaming services. But what I do know is like during the live stuff, it's always Ernie 1 and Ernie 2. It's both the Ernies that are always keeping up like damn near every single episode. So shout out to all of you guys. But we did it was a tough decision, but we came down to Ernie 1. Ernie Chavez.
Yeah, so Ernie Chavez, get rid of your I mean, yeah, like it's a nice award to the 95.7 Doobie winner, but come on, change that now. You're the Opiner of the year. Change that handle. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll make a lot of sense when you're into the 95.7 or KMBR chat and you're chatting up with those guys and they're like, hell's an Opiner of the year? Yeah.
And then you spread the word. Spread the word.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our JYOMMYs. God. Great ceremony, Stephen. No crazy, encounters, no people rushing the stage. Went smoothly.
Yeah.
Probably better than this Sunday's Oscars, I'd say. Next Sunday.
Yeah, probably. I think next time we do it, it'll be a lot more, I don't know, organized, I guess, and we'll actually be keeping tabs of this stuff because we
I don't
didn't
know,
really
man. The graphics were good.
Yeah, were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to iMovie. So it's super fun, super easy, but I think like going forward, like everything we do, it will be, oh, that's a JYOMMY candidate. I don't know what that's a candidate for, but that's a JYOMMY candidate. So we'll keep on doing this, and maybe we'll add some more production. Maybe we'll dress up. I don't know. I was half thinking about putting a shirt and tie on for this event.
Yeah, but instead you and I just went black shirt.
Yeah, I noticed that actually when I was going back and watching like a lot of the podcasts and kind of listening through. God, it's crazy the journey that we've been on from, you doing your thing in the in like the shed one episode.
More than one. I was baking alive in there.
Yeah. And like sometimes you were at work, then me, I was on the couch for half of them.
Yep.
Because our table wasn't set up. And then I think we've really gotten it rolling now. I don't know. I want to grow this thing, man. I got to be honest. I think we got something good going here. We got all the guys in the chat, and it's up to us to grow it. So I think we'd owe it to the people to get more into this chat, get more people going to the live stream, paying attention when it matters. I don't know what that takes, to be honest. Like you and I just kind of started a podcast because we knew we wanted to do one a little while back, and we didn't really have like a whole bunch of, I don't know,
knickknacks.
I guess, yeah. Like we didn't have producers, we didn't have editors. We just had two microphones and a StreamYard. And yep.
Nope. I mean, it's been fun, man. And yeah, like even going back, I mean, I was doing this show in LA when I was still working for NFL Network. So the only thing that stayed consistent, I mean, this thing has grown, but the only thing that has stayed consistent is always my background will have nothing behind it. And that's the way I intend it to be. I
miss your two treadmills, man.
Hey, I got one right here, one right next to me that I can't use. Actually, I'll let everybody know. I'm trying to move out. Of this apartment and go to a bigger one that I saw the other day. So you might be seeing me in a new location, hopefully in a couple months. Fingers crossed.
Well, if you need help moving, don't ask me.
Fair enough. I'll ask Jesse and Ernie, the Opiner of the year. Change that handle, Ernie. I'm watching you. Before we get out of here, it's something we haven't done in a long time. Let's do a little pop culture catch up.
Ooh. I don't have a thing for that.
Okay, I was about to say I'd be surprised. Anything you've watched lately, Steven, that you've been digging?
Well, it's the new thing. It's Hulu's new show, the FX new show, Shogun.
Oh God, I've heard rave reviews of this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a epic setback in the 1600s, and it's in like old time Japan where shoguns were a thing. Yep. I forgot like what the official definition is, but pretty much it's like,
if you listen to enough Wu-Tang Clan, you know what a shogun is.
Yeah, right. And first 2 episodes dropped. If you are okay reading subtitles, because a lot of it is subtitles, but if you're
I was going to ask,
then yeah. But overall, solid show so far. I think they got something cooking. And I haven't seen the last episode of True Detective, but I was keeping up with that, and Night Country seemed okay. It wasn't anything special.
So I started it while I was in Florida. I didn't finish the first episode, but I want to get around to watching it because I've always seen every season of True Detective. Is this one based in the supernatural?
A little bit, yeah.
That may get me out of it.
Yeah.
What I love the realism of True Detective, but if there's goblins and ghouls in this, I don't know if I'll dig it.
Yeah, there's not goblins and ghouls, but yeah, there's definitely supernatural stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll try it out. I've been watching the TED show on the Peacock. That is
Yeah.
very funny and goofy, very much like the movie. Have you seen it all, Steven?
No, I haven't.
Highly recommended. It's actually very funny. I didn't know if Ted was going to be as raunchy in today's, PC ways of comedy, but they get away with it. They don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, it's just a teddy bear just saying ridiculous things. And the show goes, I just love absurdist comedy where people wouldn't say that stuff in reality or things are not based in reality. So I love it. It's very like early Family Guy feel. So I think it's a great show. I think it's very
All right, I'll have to check that out.
Also, while I was on vacation, my little brother showed me Extraction. Have you watched these movies on Netflix, Steven?
Extraction?
Yes, the
No.
Chris Hemsworth action movies.
No.
Not bad. The first one's really good. He is just a guy that has to go find people that are abducted. It's a simple plot. I will say though, Extraction ends on a cliffhanger. You don't know if the main character lives or dies. And then Extraction 2 comes out, and it's pretty much told for you, which I thought was lame. But the movies are very well done. There's a lot of action. There's like cameos where big name actors pop up. It's a good little side, I guess, franchise for Hemsworth to have after Thor.
Yeah. All right. Extraction.
If you like those movies, if you like action movies. Also, were you a Deal or No Deal guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was too. Loved it. Weakest Link, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Fun in that time of game shows. Have you seen this Deal or No Deal Island?
No.
Good God. So I watched a preview with my mom, and then I watched the full episode the other day. They got Joe Magliona, the buff dude from Spider-Man 1. Brock, I think he was. Maybe not. I don't whatever character he was.
Flash,
yeah. Flash Thompson. He's the host, and they mix Survivor or Naked and Afraid with Deal or No Deal, and it is the most just random, ridiculous, convoluted reality show that I've seen in quite some time, where they could have just brought back Deal or No Deal, but instead they wanted to have the Survivor element to it, and it's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I've already got my hands tied with a show that not a lot of people enjoy. Well, I guess quite a few people enjoy it, but not a lot in my demographic, and that is The Bachelor.
The Golden Bachelor?
No, just The Bachelor.
Okay. Did you watch The Golden Bachelor?
No, I didn't watch The Golden Bachelor.
Why
Couldn't
not?
take that one.
You hate old people, huh?
Yeah. Well, yes, that's the thing. I hate old people. That's it. Like, no, like whenever I've watched this show for a while, and I'm just thinking if these people who are in their mid 20s to early 30s, if these people are going through life and can't get anybody, like imagine. Well, actually, The Golden Bachelor was a little different because I guess like a lot of them were widows, so like it had a sad element to it. But The Bachelor, just the system that it has, or rather the criteria that each show has, it stays the same, and it just works, and it always makes for an entertaining watch. So, except this guy, there's one place that they went to on a date, and I forgot what it was called, but he's like, yeah, this is like this place has like kind of an old school vibe to it. And then someone did some research, and it's been around since like whatever year BC. Like, yeah, it has an old school vibe to it. Because like Jesus Christ was walking on these on this ground. Of course, it got an old school vibe.
You mean Sam Hartman?
Yeah, right. He'd be perfect for the show. And then,
Jesse,
then he says, "What?"
I was going to ask just real quick. Is Jesse Palmer the host of Bachelor now?
Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah. He's
well, he was
an interesting one. He's an interesting cat. Yeah. Thought it was Carson Palmer's brother for the longest time, but it's not.
No,
I thought they were related.
No, he was way before Carson Palmer.
Thought they were related.
So wait, they fired my guy that always says this.
Yeah,
is the final rose.
Yeah,
which was obvious.
Well, there's a little like I think. I don't know.
He got canceled for saying something.
Yeah, he got canceled. But this new Bachelor guy, he just says, "I love that" to everything, everything. And
I bet
As-
he's dating many women at one time.
As is the trend. Now we're in the portion of the season where the women open up to him and
I
share their
bet.
deepest, darkest secrets,
Oh.
and like pretty much she'll say something and then he'll speak to the camera and he's like, yeah, so she told me about this time that her cat died when she was 4 and how that shaped who she is now. And I love that. Like, it's just the same formula for every single episode, and it works. I
So,
still watch.
so he's really interesting, you're saying?
No, he's not. He's not.
Okay. Yeah, I figured.
No, he's like a tennis instructor that lives in Hawaii.
So he could get laid easily. What does he need the Bachelor for?
Why? Because he's in Hawaii. Get it?
He's probably a good looking, probably a good looking guy.
Yeah, I'm talking about with the flowers, Derek.
I want to see a reality show where they get the ugliest people. That's what I want to see.
They do. They had one with that's called like. There's one
Joe
with,
Millionaire.
There's one where people wear masks.
Yeah,
They do blind
Yeah.
dates on with masks on. I think it's
I
called
know,
Blind
yeah.
Date.
But do you remember the one way back in the day? It was like Joe Millionaire, where no wait, there was another one. Yeah, Joe Millionaire was where he was proposing as a millionaire. He was just like a farmer or something, and then it turns out at the very end of the show they gave him a blank check or not blank check, but $1 million check to make him a millionaire, which is like defeating the purpose. But there was one where like all the guys would wear masks. It was creepy. It's like something out of like Eyes Wide Shut. Like you couldn't find out what they looked like.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, have you seen the Patriots Dynasty show on Apple TV?
No, not yet.
Okay, when you do, let me know. We'll talk about it. I have very interesting things to say about the show. It's very well done, but the timing of it is interesting to me because Robert Kraft can say all these things, and Belichick isn't there anymore to defend himself.
Okay.
And it's the first time they've really gotten into Aaron Hernandez, like really gotten into Aaron Hernandez. So
right.
you watch it and you let me know, and we'll talk about it here.
I'll take a peek.
All right, take a peek.
You know what I'm most looking forward to, though?
What's that?
I am. I don't know about you. I wonder what your opinion is on it, because I know we're going to be getting a bunch of trailers and stuff that'll come out in due time. But coming out July 15th, 2025, the Naked Gun reboot, starring Liam Neeson.
I saw this. I didn't want to bring it up because I don't want to go too into it, but there's movies that just don't need to be done.
Hey, man, it's produced by Seth MacFarlane and directed by Akiva from The Lonely Island.
I mean, it's got the right recipe, but Naked Gun, I don't know if you know this, Steven. I consider it the funniest movie of all time, specifically number 2, The Smell of Fear. It's just quick-witted and all the types of humor that I love. I don't know if it could be topped. Liam Neeson's hilarious. If anyone's ever seen that thing he did with Ricky Gervais, it's hilarious. So I think he could pull this off. It's just going to be very different than what Liam Neeson did, or what Leslie Nielsen did. Even the names are similar.
Yeah, I didn't need a reboot of this. I didn't need one. Like, I'm good with, say, Dune being rebooted, because that movie, that kind of idea for a movie is ahead of its time, and they could do a lot with it 40 years ahead.
I was thinking about watching that.
But with the Naked Gun, I don't need, like, part of the charm of it is just how old school it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's the perfect comedy for like the 80s and 90s. It doesn't work for 2024 or 2025. I don't know what it's. I'm looking forward to it, but I guess they don't need a Naked Gun reboot remake. I'm just excited to see Liam Neeson in that kind of role, though.
I will see it. I'll reserve my judgment until it actually comes out, but there are movies that just don't need to be rebooted, and I think this is one of them. But the recipe seems good. Lastly, very sad. I know last week I said on the podcast that a big deal of why Curb is not the same anymore is because a lot of the characters are getting older, and I called them old fucks, and I regret that. I regret that because sadly Richard Lewis passed away. And out of anybody on the show, he looked to be the one that was in the worst health. And it's sad. I think he and Larry had incredible chemistry on the show. I loved how they always made him like, he was getting the hot new girlfriend, and Larry would fuck it up by saying the wrong thing to the girlfriend. I was watching the one last night where Richard Lewis has a new girlfriend, and Larry finds out that she performed an act on the car ride over, and then he doesn't want to kiss her goodnight, and then turns into a whole thing.
Talk about Cha-Cha?
Not Cha-Cha's hilarious. No, there's one where Jeff tells Larry, "Yeah, this girl blew Richard on the way over," and then like she gives him a kiss goodnight. He's like, "Oh, don't touch it with your mouth," and she's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Ugh.
Richard Lewis. If you ever seen Robin Hood, Men in Tights, he's hilarious in that movie as well. His stand up comedy was great as well. Just very sad to hear about Richard Lewis, and I hope they honor him well. The last few episodes, I know they've already filmed it. It's not going to be like a Marty Funkhauser thing where, he went to China, which I always thought was kind of lame. But I hope they do a good ode to him in the remaining episodes of the series.
Yeah, I know. It's I mean, you said it, like just getting that. It's like, damn, in the middle of the season too. But God, Richard Lewis was just watching the friendship just play out between him and Larry David. That chemistry that they had on screen was just built through friendship, because that's what they did in their regular life. They just put it on screen. And like, God, what was the one I watched the other day was, well, there was one where, because I'm watching like season 7, I think, which is the Seinfeld reunion, and
I'm on there too now.
Yeah, and I just watched the episode where Jerry and Larry go to a diner. They sit down, and then Richard Lewis walks up because he's supposed to have lunch with them, and like they're talking about who he should sit next to, and they're just both arguing over that. Then Richard Lewis just ups and leaves. Yeah, like it's funny that I saw a post, and it was like there's this one scene with Larry David and Richard where Larry's like legitimately laughing at what he's saying, even though it's in the script. I'm like, yeah, but that happened all the time on this show.
Oh yeah,
it was just nonstop. That's what made it great.
They would make each other laugh. Like, well, I think the best moment is when they're arguing about something, and Richard Lewis goes, "You're as bad as Bin Laden," and then Larry goes, "Do you say Bin or Ben?" Because and then Richard stops for a second, and he goes, "Yeah, Bin Laden sounds like a Jewish guy that makes like shirts in Manhattan Beach." Like, that's such a good line, or not Manhattan Beach, but Manhattan. It's just, yeah, they were very good. Their chemistry was off the charts, and Larry had a very, very heartwarming and sad response to hearing the passing of his death. And yeah, it really shows that the show is ending. I mean, obviously, Richard Lewis lost his life, but it's just, things are not the same, and people get older, and I'm glad the show was coming to an end, but it's very sad to hear about the passing of Richard Lewis.
Yep.
All right. Well, that being said, that's it for today. And boy, we went long, especially with the JYOMMYs. And thanks to Ernie for changing his name. There we go. Ernie Chavez.
Wow.
Opiner of the Year, JYOM. You tell everybody, Ernie. Spread the word. All right, everybody. We're going to be back on Tuesday. I'm thinking we do this more when we get to more of a routine in the off season, because Sunday to Tuesday is kind of quick. We could do probably Wednesday to Sunday, but a lot of things going down this week. Warriors are playing Wednesday, so let's do Tuesday, and we'll figure out the weekend show. We'll probably do an Oscar pick thing, figuring out a guest for the next one, because the fuckery is afoot. It's coming, and we'll do a lot of shows during that time as well. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks to everybody for enjoying the first annual JYOMMYs. Steven, say what you always say.
It's just our opinion, man.
You're tired.